The universe had known many powers, many empires, and many wars. Some were fought for resources, others for dominance. Yet there was one thing every species across the galaxy had learned over the centuries. When a human fleet appeared on the horizon, the game changed. Captain Daniel Hayes stood on the bridge of the Dominion, the flagship of Earth's newly formed fleet. The crew, a diverse mix of humans from every corner of the planet, moved with an efficiency that only years of experience could instill. Despite the chaos of the war zone ahead, there was an eerie calm aboard the ship. The crew knew their mission, and they knew their enemy. For months, the alien coalition known as the Veltrons had been ravaging human colonies on the outer rim. The Veltrons were a ruthless species, technologically advanced and relentless in their pursuit of power. Their warships were enormous, capable of decimating entire fleets in mere minutes, and yet they had never faced humanity's full might. "We're approaching the coordinates," said Commander Anna Clark, Hayes' second-in-command, her voice unwavering as she looked at the readout before her. "Enemy fleet sighted. It's massive." Hayes nodded, not even looking at the screen. The data was irrelevant. It was the tactics that mattered, and he had one thing no one else in the galaxy had. Humans could adapt faster than any species. The Veltrons may have had superior technology, but they lacked the unpredictable nature that made humans so dangerous in warfare. "Bring us into position." "Full readiness," Hayes ordered. The Dominion surged forward, its massive engines firing to life. The rest of the human fleet followed, a wave of warships that stretched across the void. Together they had been brought to the battlefield to make a statement, to show the Veltrons that the galaxy had underestimated humanity for the last time. On the enemy side, Admiral Calrath, leader of the Veltron coalition, stood on the command deck of his warship. His golden skin shimmered under the dim lights, and his eyes, dark and calculating, stared at the incoming human fleet. "I thought the humans were a primitive species. Easy to crush," Calrath muttered, his voice a low growl. "Why do I sense something different this time?" His officers exchanged uneasy glances. The human ships were small compared to the Veltron warships, but their sheer number was unsettling. Calrath had heard whispers, rumors that Earth had achieved something unimaginable, something beyond the reach of the Veltron Empire. "Orders, sir?" one of his officers asked, his voice tinged with hesitation. Calrath's hands curled into fists. "Engage them. We end this now." The Veltron fleet moved into formation, massive ships spreading out to form a blockade around their most powerful vessel, the Dreadspire. The human fleet, however, did not waver. Instead, it charged forward, closing the gap between them in a matter of seconds. "Fire at will," Calrath barked, his eyes narrowing. The sky was filled with bright, deadly flashes as the Veltron ships unleashed a barrage of firepower. Streams of plasma missiles, laser beams, and ion blasts shot through the void, directed at the human ships. But to the shock of everyone aboard the Dreadspire, the incoming projectiles didn't hit a single target. In an instant, the human fleet was gone. Captain Hayes stood motionless, watching the battlefield unfold before him. "Activate the phase engines," he commanded. The human fleet had mastered a new technology, phase shift drives. No one, not even the Veltrons, had believed it possible. The human fleet was now capable of shifting between dimensions, appearing at one point and then vanishing, reappearing in another with no warning. The technology wasn't perfect, but it was devastating in the hands of those who understood how to use it. For the Veltrons, it was as if their enemies had disappeared into thin air. They had fired everything they had, but the humans had evaded every shot, slipping between the dimensions with a grace that left the Veltrons disoriented. Before they could react, the human fleet reappeared, directly inside the Veltron formation. "All ships deploy tactical override," Hayes ordered. The command was simple but deadly. The human ships immediately dropped their stealth shields and unleashed their main weapons, the pulse cannons. These weapons, developed after years of experimentation, were capable of disrupting an enemy ship's systems on a massive scale. The first round of fire hit the nearest Veltron ship, It exploded in a burst of light, its energy core rupturing before the crew could even react. The second shot obliterated another Veltron ship, while the rest of the fleet scrambled to adjust. "Phase shift now!" Hayes barked. The human fleet disappeared, again only to reappear closer, now inside the heart of the Veltron formation. The surprise was too much. The Veltrons could not adapt fast enough. The pulse cannons fired again and again, tearing through the enemy's hulls like paper. The Veltron fleet was disintegrating. One by one, their ships exploded or shut down, powerless to stop the relentless assault. "This is impossible," Calrath shouted, watching in disbelief. "Their technology, what is this?" "It's called adaptation," Hayes said coldly, his eyes locked on the Veltron admiral's ship. "Humans never stop improving, never stop learning. And unlike your kind, we fight for something greater than ourselves." Calrath's ship shuddered as a massive pulse struck the center of the vessel. The Dreadspire's shields flared up, but the human fleet was already upon them again. Hayes gave the final command. "Boarding teams, prepare to launch." In mere moments, human soldiers flooded onto the Veltron flagship. Their mission was clear: end the war with a message that no one would ever forget. By the time the Veltron flagship fell, the entire enemy fleet had been shattered. Not a single Veltron warship remained operational. The human fleet, once considered an afterthought in the galactic theater, had arrived with overwhelming force and wiped out the invaders in a single coordinated strike. As Hayes stood aboard the Dominion, he looked out at the wreckage of the enemy fleet. "Let this be a lesson," he said, his voice calm but firm. "Underestimate humanity at your own peril." The Warzone, once a place of destruction and chaos, was now silent. The enemy had been eradicated, and the human fleet had proven its strength beyond doubt. This was only the beginning. "You said,